I made a couple of adjustments to my table. I actually knocked some things off when I was moving things around earlier to put the first two pieces on. And so I also reset the camera so that you can see a little bit more of the pieces as I'm doing this. So if you look at your diagram, this tells me that I want to put my patch pocket down here at the bottom. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to put my sample piece down there. And you're saying, what's the sample piece? I didn't cut one of those out yet. Well, I will be giving you, this did not come in your packet. I will be giving you this little 4x6 inch sample seam that you are going to cut out because we're going to use this to practice some of the steps that we have to do for our project. So we're going to do a sample seam. This is a different seam than what we used when we were making our previous project. So I want you to be familiar with how you do it before you actually start working on your shorts. So I want 2 side seam pockets. That means that I have to cut this one out 2 times. And I need to figure out where these are going to fit the best. I don't want to just plop something down and then not be able to use it. And so what I'm going to do is, this piece actually is a little wider than this piece. So I need to put it at the widest part of this chunk up here. And so I'm going to put it really up here closer to the top, okay, about there. And then I am going to cut one of my sets of pockets right about here. And then I'm going to cut my other set of pockets over here. And so after I cut one set out, I will take the pattern piece off. I'm going to have to mark it first. And then I'll take the pattern piece off. And then I will come over here and cut this one. All right? And then my sample piece is going to go down here. All right? That's a big enough piece I can do my sample from that. All right? So to do this pocket, it's just like the other pieces. We want to make sure that we put it on the straight grain. And this is the top of the pocket. The llama on this particular pattern is always at the top of whatever it is that we're doing. That's a good way to remember. And if I turn this around this way and cut it out, then my cars would be upside down when I make my pockets, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to put it on this way. And I want to make sure that there's enough space between this pattern piece and that one. I'm going to put my pin through the point of my arrow. This is actually longer than my 6-inch ruler, so I am going to use my tape measure. And I'm going to put the little gold piece, the little silver piece right on the point of the arrow. And then I'm going to come over to the edge. I never even look at the number. I kind of glance at it. It's a little past 6.5. I'm not worried about that. I don't let go of it. I keep my thumbnail right on it. And then I lay my thumbnail back down on the selvage edge and reach over and make sure that that bottom part of the arrow, when I smooth this out, is right at the center of the metal piece. Okay? So that one's there. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay out where this pattern is supposed to go, just to make sure that I know I have enough space. I don't have to move my pocket up a little bit, because I could move it up a little bit if I needed to. But I have enough space here, so that's what I'm going to do. Again, I'm going to pin one end of the arrow. I'm going to use my tape measure because this is a little longer than 6 inches. Remember, you have to start at the 1. So from the center of the arrow over to the edge of the selvage, I have my thumbnail right on there. And I line that up with the selvage. And again, I'm going to tell you, standing up to pin is a whole lot easier to do than sitting down to pin. But if I were standing, you wouldn't be able to see what I was doing because I would be in the way. And this tape measure is driving me crazy. Alrighty, so I now know that this pattern piece, because I checked it, it will fit right here. I know my sample can go right there. And I am going to go ahead and pin the rest of the pieces all the way around. And I do this because I don't want to be frustrated by pinning it all down and then finding out I don't have enough room or my pattern pieces are overlapping. So let me explain how we pin a pattern piece. I have a system that I think works pretty well. It keeps the pattern as flat as possible, and you should never hold it up in the air to pin. That's going to give you bubbles, and we don't want bubbles. We want this nice and smooth. So what we do is we do the two ends of the arrow first, and I'm going to actually write this on my pattern piece, and you can do this too if you want to remember. It is arrow first, parallel to selvage. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you're going to pin the compass points. That is like on a map, so north, south, east, and west. The third thing that I want you to do is pin the corners, and then you pin in between. And when you get finished, your pins should be about 3 fingers apart. And the reason why I say 3 fingers is that there is no reason to get out and measure in between each one. But if you have fingers, then you can just lay your fingers down. Okay, I want one here and one about there. Alrighty. So I'm going to tell you right now, we have to get rid of all these pins along here before we cut out. So I'm going to just slide these ones that are underneath this edge of my pattern out because I don't need them anymore. The pattern is holding it in place. All right, and I'm going to use these to get started. So it's said to do the arrows first. I already did that. Now I'm going to do the compass points. So I am going to smooth it flat and go up north. Okay, we know that on a map that north is at the top of the page. South is at the bottom of the page. East is always to the right of the page, and west is to the left of the page. If you'll notice, I put the whole pin inside the cutting line. You cannot have any part of the pin on the cutting line or outside of the cutting line because it will damage the scissors or it's not going to hold your pattern the way it's supposed to. So the whole entire thing needs to be inside the cutting line. All right, so I did the arrow, I did the compass points, now I'm going to pin the corners. I already pinned this corner earlier because I wanted to make sure that it didn't overlap that one. I am going to repin it just because I want to make sure that it's smoothed out. So I'm going to do that corner. I'm going to do this corner. Again, the whole pin is on the inside. I'm going to do this bottom corner. And I am going to do this corner up here. This thing's got lots of corners. It has more than 4. And then I'm going to do this one. Again, make sure that the whole entire pin is inside the cutting line. The head can't be out, the point can't be out. And don't put them right on the cutting line because you have to repin everything and that's no fun. All right, so I've done that. My next thing is in between. And I know that I need to have them about 2 to 3 fingers apart. So if I guess, I'm going to have maybe 1, 2 more pins in here. So about that far, I'm going to put a pin in. And then I'm going to put another one in here. Here's the thing about pinning. You want enough that it'll hold it together while you cut out, but you don't want to put in so many that it's going to take you forever to take them out. So I started over there. I usually don't try to pin in a circle just because you tend to make a bubble when you do that. So I did that part and that part. And then I've already got all of this done. I think I'm going to put some down here. And I want to keep my fabric as flat as possible. Don't pick it up in the air. There's a little space here. I think I'm only going to need maybe 2 here. And I probably would only put 1 in there if I were pinning with regular size pins or with the long pins. But because you probably need 2 here, go ahead and put in 2. Mine are longer because I have I've had my hand damaged, and so I can't use the little tiny pins. They're really hard for me to work with. So I use the big ones. Okay, and then one around this curve here. And then I have a couple more over here I need to put in. All right, so that's basically what you're going to do. The arrow first, and make sure that the arrow is parallel to the selvage. You're going to pin the compass points, north, south, east, and west. You're going to pin the corners, and then you're going to pin in between about 3 fingers apart. Some of mine are a little closer than 3 fingers. Don't make them farther apart than 3 fingers. I am not going to pin all of the rest of the pieces on. But I do want to show you a little bit about this front part here. Remember, I'm going to make the fake fly, so I'm going to pin over here, and if you were going to make the straight front, you should have trimmed your pattern along that straight line. It doesn't matter whether you're doing a pocket piece or whether you are doing a shorts piece. You should still do that north, south, east, and west. The other thing, so you've got your 2 body pieces that you have to pin. You have your at least 1 pocket. I'm making both kinds of pockets, so I have to pin it multiple times. And then your sample piece, and you're going to get all of those pinned. Even with this one, you're going to go north, south, east, and west, north, south, east, and west, and then pin your corners, pin in between. Make sure your pins are 2 to 3 fingers apart on the whole thing. And then don't forget, you need to do your sample. And your sample doesn't have an arrow on it, but it does have a straight line. And so just use one of the long straight lines and measure so that it is parallel to the edge, and then put your pattern piece on. Don't put your pin right there, okay? Put a pin inside your cutting line, but make sure that when you lay this on here, that this is parallel to your side edge, okay? I am going to meet you up again after I have all my pieces pinned.